Oh, baby. It's horse beef here, and today this may just be a hit piece on the Gracie family, man. In anticipation of Kron Gracie's long-awaited return to the octagon. Don't lie. We've all been waiting with bated breath for the return of Kron Gracie, right? Don't lie. Don't be a casual. Everyone loves Kron Gracie. He's elite, as we all know. So I wanted to really deep dive into the Gracie family and see what's all the controversy about. But also to reinforce my opinions on the Gracie family, that they are kind of a bunch of frauds. Yet, despite being pioneers of jiu-jitsu, right, they also competed at a time when jiu-jitsu wasn't widely practiced, especially in the West. So, I mean, congratulations, I guess, for beating up a bunch of novices on the ground and, claiming victory every time. And in the midst of all that cheating and foul play outside the octagon, inside the octagon, inside the ring, outside the ring, it doesn't matter. And I really wanted to dive deep into it and get down to the nitty-gritty, the facts as to why I have such strong opinions, negative opinions, towards the Gracie family. So let's get into it. And I must say I was spurred on to make this video after seeing this title from MMA Shay. And this is no hate to MMA Shay. He's absolutely right to make this video. And Kron Gracie is definitely contributing to destroying his family's legacy, but I would argue that the Gracie family legacy has been tainted for a long time now, and Kron Gracie is just yet another in this long line of frauds.
We heard this story that before you were getting ready to fight Kron Gracie, those jiu-jitsu gyms wouldn't let you in. Certain people wouldn't let you train with them. They said, oh, you're fighting a Gracie, you got to kick it. Is this true?
Mm-hmm.
It's true. Mm-hmm. So you would go around to jiu-jitsu gyms. They knew you were going to fight him. And they wouldn't even let you train?
Yeah.
Wow.
They said that they just didn't want the beef. They were like, no disrespect. We like you, but just it wouldn't look good. And they would take it personal. And so I had to go back to my hometown, to my original instructor.
Now, even if you're skeptical of Cub Swanson's story here, myself personally, I'm not. Just knowing everything I know about the Gracie family, the nepotism, the favoritism, or even really getting down to the thug nature of the Gracie family, the fear tactics, the brawls, and it will get a lot more serious. The allegations will become a lot more serious as this video goes along, and this type of story will appear to just be the tip of the iceberg, really, when it comes down to the foul play of the Gracie family. But yeah, it does show the type of pull that the Gracies have in the jiu-jitsu world to suggest that the Gracies would take it personal. The fragile egos of these Gracies will also be exposed as this goes along, and this will be no surprise to anybody.
Me and Kron went against each other when he was 17 and I was 19 years old in jiu-jitsu, and we competed and they wouldn't give me any points in the match. And I had just won the Pan Ams. And it really pissed me off because I was, like I said, I turned my life around. I stopped doing drugs, just stopped.
Now, I won't get too much into this point here. Just another example of favoritism, nepotism shown towards the Gracie family. I guess nepotism wouldn't be the right word in this case, but favoritism absolutely, and that is as a result of the pull and potential dirt that the Gracie family has over the jiu-jitsu world. Is it possible that the Gracie family are just a bunch of ditties but for jiu-jitsu? Is it fair to assume that type of fear and control, right, happens in all of these major industries? Is it fair to assume that? Because I mean, it may seem far-fetched right now, but as we get more into it, as I said earlier, it may seem more likely. But let's see how it goes.
It's like, oh, cool. And the guy's like, do you speak Portuguese? The referee, I was like, no. Why? That's a weird question. And then he was like, okay. And then they went and tried to give Kron the green and yellow belt because we have the same gis and everything. Mm. And then he looked at the ref and went and turned his back. And the ref went like that and turned and gave it to me. And I was like,
well, why he didn't want the green and yellow belt?
Because he thought it was disrespectful to him.
Have to wear that.
So only one person had to wear it.
Yeah. And so when they tried to give it to him, he told the ref, get out of my face. And
hey, you speak Portuguese? No, okay. So now I know that we can pretty much just openly cheat and you'll be none the wiser, seeing as you don't speak the same language. Like that's really the only conclusion I can come to based off that question. But then for Kron Gracie to refuse this arbitrary belt color because it's disrespectful to his Gracie name, like, get out of here, man. The egos on the Gracie family are ridiculous, and they make no sense because you guys are famous for rolling around on the ground, butt scooting, not actually beating people up and actually beating people in fights. No, you're actually known for ganging up on people on the streets and being a bunch of fucking street thugs, to be completely honest, and inside the ring getting your shit kicked in the second that the MMA community at large learned how to employ basic jiu-jitsu defense and takedown defense. You know what I mean? The second that this type of grappling had become more widespread, the second that the Gracies were rendered obsolete in MMA competition.
Give me another fight if they don't cut me. And they're like, do you want to fight Kron Gracie? I was like, you know, we got history, right? And then they were like, nah, I don't know that. I was like, yeah, I'll fight him.
And in case you guys weren't aware, Cub Swanson went in and beat the brakes off of Kron Gracie. It was a completely one-sided fight. One of the most one-sided fights you can possibly even imagine, because Kron Gracie had nothing, barely landed a shot of any significance. I would say he landed no shots of significance in the entire fight because he's incapable of throwing shots of significance because he is a fucking jiu-jitsu nerd. And that's what all these Gracies are. They're a bunch of jiu-jitsu nerds with their heads up their own asses, smelling their own farts constantly. And it's pathetic, and I love the fact that Cub Swanson put such a beating on Kron Gracie, especially after hearing the story, and for the audacity of Kron Gracie, you know, to stick his fist in the face of Cub Swanson, knowing that Cub Swanson is the one who actually knows how to sling fists, compared to you, who is the butt scooter jiu-jitsu nerd. Like, man, to put the fist in his face is just crazy delusion on Kron Gracie's part, I must say. And leave it to Kron Gracie to make Charles Jourdain look like a world beater. Like, this fight genuinely looked like a professional fighter just drilling combinations on a stationary heavy bag. It was truly one of the worst performances I've ever seen from any MMA fighter, especially when it comes to the striking display. I have seen higher level striking from Ronda Rousey and Juliana Pena, for God's sake. That is sad. That is sad. And as should be expected by any Gracie at this point, due to their insanely inflated egos. Of course, excuses were made. Now, I don't know if this was an excuse regarding the Cub Swanson fight or the Charles Jourdain fight. Either way, makes no difference, but the way that he throws certain people under the bus and fails to take accountability is laughable. But let's read. I believe this was a post on like Instagram or some shit like that. Let's see. In a lifetime of fighting, it's always been a fight to the death. Pretty funny coming from a guy whose signature move is scooting your ass on the ground. I mean, a fight to the death. Okay, there. Let's just move on. Understand the situation and willing to limit myself. Situation. Okay, that is definitely how you spell situation. Even that being said, I threw no punches because of bad advice. I can only assume he's trying to spell there, and tried to please the jiu-jitsu community today before my fight. First fight in my life, I didn't throw a punch, going back to my old ways. What is the old ways? You're a Gracie. The old ways is exactly what you did, not throwing a punch and butt scooting. Those are the old ways. So watch out, guys. He's now going to butt scoot even harder against Bryce Mitchell. Mark his words. He's going back to the old ways. Shiver me timbers, right, guys? But Kron Gracie is just the tip of the iceberg when you really get down to it. He actually seems like a saint when you compare him to most of his family members, right? The Gracies do have a history of assaults and cheating, foul play, as I've said, but some even more serious cases that I will get into pretty soon, and that I do have to be a little careful with my wording on, because at the end of the day, man, the Gracies do have a lot of pull, and I'm not trying to be visited in the middle of the night by a team of Gracies trying to heel hook me and butt scoot into my house, because you know what? That would drive fear into my heart. It really would. And before we get into some more serious topics, I just want to bring your attention to this music video. Oh boy. One of the worst things I've ever had the displeasure of watching. I would rather watch or listen to KSI attempt trash talk for an hour straight before watching this again. This is a music video for a song titled G in a Gi by Kron Gracie. Listen, This shit is wild. I'm not going to play it just in case it gets copyright claimed in some way. But believe me when I say that this shit is insane. Man, like I can't even really use words to describe it. So I would just encourage you to go seek it out yourself and come to your own conclusions on that one, and then come back here and let me know what you think about the song and if you would bump that shit or not. but like, why does everything have to be jiu-jitsu based for these guys, whether they're getting into music or whatever? Like, everything is surrounding jiu-jitsu. You know, if you were none the wiser, you would think that jiu-jitsu was a cure for cancer or something. Oh wait, what's this? Yes, this is a real thing on the Gracie Barra website. Don't believe me? Just Google this. Google this headline and you will see, yes, this is a legitimate article on the Gracie Barra website.
Goes. So what it's supposed to be. 24 hours before I'm supposed to step into the ring, they tell me I can't wear my wrestling shoes. Now, anybody that fights in the ring or understands what that means is like being on ice. You have no footing. I fought with it my whole career in Japan, wrestling shoes. 24 hours before they tell me I can't wear them. It's supposed to be no bar, anything goes, any of that stuff. It's all good, nothing. I'm like, okay.
Now listen, I'm not a huge fan of Ken Shamrock's. I think he falls under a similar type of category as Royce Gracie when it comes to like fraudulent fighters. But at least he was a fighter, and at least he didn't bend the rules in his favor, and he still is a legend at the end of the day, as is Royce Gracie to an extent. But at least Ken Shamrock's legacy isn't tainted to that extent where he's bending rules to favor himself, taking away Ken Shamrock's ability to actually plant his feet and wear those wrestling shoes, which would instantaneously put Royce Gracie at a massive advantage, since he's able to wear his gi and use his gi to secure submissions.
Now listen to me, people. I want you to understand this. It was a 30-minute time limit. It's a contract we agreed upon. And they're able to change the time, even though it worked out to my benefit, they're able to change the time limit because he runs out from the audience and tells everybody that's working there he wants 3 more minutes. So they grant him another 3 minutes. So now we're going to go 36 minutes. And I beat the tar out of him some more. Literally, he's barely hanging on. Time runs out. I don't hear anybody screaming for 3 more minutes. So I jump up and I go, hey, 3 more minutes. No, I can't. Oh, I can't get 3 more minutes. Oh, only you can get 3 more minutes, but I can't.
So based on Ken Shamrock's account here, and speaking of, right, excellent interview. Go check out this channel. You can see the watermark at the bottom left corner. Check out this interview if you want to hear his account in more detail. I didn't want to show too much of the interview, seeing as it isn't my content, right? But yeah, if his accounts are to be true, and there is seemingly video evidence of this on the internet, so Royce Gracie is allowed to have the advantage of wearing a gi, while Ken Shamrock is not allowed to wear his wrestling shoes because that is deemed as a weapon, even though Royce Gracie ended up using his gi and belt to secure a submission against Ken Shamrock in one of their fights. Plus is able to add time onto the time limit up until the point where apparently he's not able to fight anymore. And I believe that this fight that he was detailing in this part of the interview was actually a draw in the end because there's no judges and a time limit, right? So a time limit, no judges. So how exactly could you come to a conclusion of a winner? Well, Ken Shamrock thinks it is because the Gracies are afraid to lose, and personally, I believe him.
His head pops up. He grabs my head, looks down at my groin, and throws a... And listen to me. Professionally, there's no way, unless you're intending to throw a low blow, that you're going to throw something like that with the experience that I have and he has to land a strike like that. And then after you land it, take credit for a win. Jump on the guy after you already know you hit him low. You know positively you hit him low, and jump on him and continue to hit him instead of stepping back and going, oh, my bad.
And to no surprise to anybody really, Royce Gracie was awarded with the victory here despite dropping Ken Shamrock with a clear low blow. Right, there was a follow-up knee to the head directly after the low blow. But you could clearly see that the knee to the head really didn't do a lot of damage, and he was grimacing from the nut shot while going down. It's clearly a foul from Royce Gracie. Yet, of course, this decision would never be overturned, because who would ever slight the Gracies? And besides the Ken Shamrock trilogy, Royce Gracie also has a long history of holding on to submissions for too long. In one case, depicted in this video, although it doesn't get into too much detail into showing it too close up, because I'm sure YouTube would find a way to demonetize me for that. But yeah, he actually snaps somebody's arm right after the tap, or just holds on for way too long past the tap and purposefully snaps the guy's arm. Extremely dirty behavior for me, and I've said it before in other videos, dirty jiu-jitsu guys for me are a lot more disgusting, because you can seriously do career-ending damage to somebody just by holding on to a submission for too long. And even look at the look on Royce's face while he's holding on to the submission. There's some animosity there, and it's hard to ignore. For me, it seems purposeful, although you might disagree. And not to mention him popping for steroids later on in his career. And to no surprise at all, I actually found this article published on the ESPN website making excuses for Royce Gracie testing positive for steroids. As I said, man, the Gracies have to have dirt on a whole lot of people for all these excuses to be made for their blatant cheating, foul play, and really everything when it comes to their tainted legacies. And as I said, it isn't just the inside the cage, inside the ring antics that have tainted the Gracie legacy. There have been a lot of controversies outside of it. We're talking about gang assaults and harboring a certain type of people that, internet aficionados like to refer to as PDF files nowadays. And man, some real dirty laundry that I uncovered. Now here we have the Ralph Gracie assault. There is a GIF video that actually does depict the assault to the right of this article right here. But the latest example of a Gracie family member going berserk is when Ralph Gracie assaulted Flavio Almeida at the 2018 No-Gi Worlds. Ralph approached Flavio on the sidelines as Almeida was coaching one of his students that was competing at the time. After a short talk, Ralph out of nowhere elbowed Almeida in the face and followed up with a few kicks. The entire incident was caught on video and later turned out to be over gym territory in the area of San Francisco. Almeida ended up with several broken teeth and visible bruising on the face. Lawsuits followed, forcing Ralph Gracie to fly back to Brazil and leave his San Francisco academy indefinitely. So just more examples of thug activity from the Gracie family, and it does remain consistent. And then we have a story about Renzo Gracie's alleged nightclub brawl. Renzo is one of the most fun and charismatic characters in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and the Gracie family in general. He is also a wild character who once live tweeted when a couple of thugs tried to mug him in NYC. Suffice to say, he dealt with them swiftly while appearing to really have fun. I mean, are we sure that there were some thugs, or was he just picking a fight? Just based on the history of the Gracie family, they do like to fabricate certain events, you know what I'm saying? So I would be skeptical about this particular story. There's another instance of Renzo unleashed in NYC, should be NYC, that is on a much bigger scale though. In 2014, along with Igor and Gregor Gracie and several other grapplers, were involved in a nightclub brawl. Like, man, spell check is... It's very simple to proofread your shit. Just get somebody to proofread your article before publishing it. Simple as, right? But we'll deal with it for now. Club brawl with the bouncers that saw several bouncers end up heavily injured, including some broken bones. The Gracies were arrested, stood trial, but got away with community service. The story went public and viral, though, as one of the Gracies' more violent outbursts. Dude, as a martial artist, right? As an elite martial artist, right? The Gracie family at one point were probably one of the most prolific families in the combat world and seen as elite fighters. Fortunately for us, that charade is now over with, and they are no longer seen in that regard and in that type of light, gratefully, because they never deserved it for 1 fucking second. But to break the bones of bouncers, for bouncers to get involved in the first place, I would assume that the Gracies were acting up. But then to use your martial arts expertise to break the bones of bouncers, it doesn't surprise me. It does not surprise me knowing the history of the Gracies. They are a violent bunch and prone to outbursts and love showing their skills against street thugs and novices because it makes them feel powerful. Wow. Another example of Renzo Gracie being a bit of a trashy human being. Let's see. There are several examples of the Gracie family conducting in a disrespectful way, absolutely, inside the ring during MMA fights. Renzo features in both of our examples today. In the first, he spat at Shungo Oyama during their match in Pride in 2022. As a matter of fact, Renzo ended up losing the fight, thank God. On another occasion, back in 1995, Renzo fought a judoka named Ben. I'm not even going to attempt to say that name. It was only Renzo's second professional fight in which he managed to submit the judoka. The controversy came after Renzo got up and stomped on his opponent's head after the submission. Surprisingly, he got off with just a warning from the referee and kept fighting in the tournament 2 more times that night. What do you know? A Gracie stomping on their opponent's head, on the back of their opponent's head for that matter, into the canvas and receive no punishments as a result? Color me surprised, man. Would have never guessed it. Would have never guessed a Gracie, a family member, being treated with impunity. And then we have the Roger Gracie shooting incident. I'll read through this one for you guys, and I have a feeling that some of you may find this one to be a little bit based. I have a sneaking suspicion here. If you thought Roger Gracie was the calm kid in the Gracie family, you were much mistaken. Now, what? I don't know what he's trying. Listen. I said it already. Grammarly. Just download Grammarly, I suppose. Right, and stoic in both teaching and fighting. Roger also has a wild side that folks in Brazil got to see when he was younger, namely in an infamous incident when he was a blue belt. Roger and 3 other friends shot rubber bullets and paintball guns at several transvestites. Now, in case you don't know what transvestite is, that was what trans people were referred to in the golden days, right? But we'll move on from that. For which he was arrested, only 19 years of age. Roger was not convicted and later got sent to the UK to stay away from trouble. I won't get too much into that one, but yes, let me know if you think that's based as fuck. I know some of you will think so. And then we get to Ryan. I'm just going to say Ryan. I'm not going to try and make it Brazilian, right? Ryan Gracie's violent tendencies. Speaking of violence and the Gracies, the late Ryan Gracie, I just did it again, brother of Renzo, used to fight and brawl all over the place in nightclubs, streets, and even in competition. Ryan had some high-profile fights which made him famous and a fan favorite in Brazil. However, he also had several assaults to his name, like that of president of the Rio de Janeiro Jiu-Jitsu League over a letter and robbing someone in their car. Wrongly diagnosed by a psychiatrist, Ryan was found dead in his cell after being arrested for the robbery. God damn, that is a dark one. That is a dark one. And it even goes as far back as 1943, where Helio Carlos and George Gracie all ended up in prison after being accused of assault on former colleague Manuel Rufino. Given that Rufino filed charges, the 3 Gracie family members spent 7 days in jail. They didn't stay longer, though, because there was insufficient evidence, according to the court. Now, if certain conspiracy theories about the Gracie family are to be believed, then this insufficient evidence should come as no surprise, considering the pull and power and control that they allegedly do have over this particular industry, I guess is right, because the jiu-jitsu world really is an industry. It does take a lot of money to actually become a black belt. It isn't all about merit at the end of the day, but yeah, I won't get too deep into jiu-jitsu as a whole. And I know that I did show this particular article earlier on, but now, to close out the video, I would like to get more into depth about this one, just to read the headline, man. Rickson Gracie's statement on his support of convicted, I guess we'll just say chomo, right, as they say in prison, chomos. You know what, dude? This is an awful one because I was only able to find like a legitimate article like this referring to one specific chomo that the Gracie family had allowed to continue teaching child classes. I mean, yeah, you could boil it down to them just not vetting these people closely enough and as thoroughly enough, but at the same time, man, there might be something going on there, something more going on there, maybe a cover-up or something else, or maybe even sympathizing with these types of people. I don't really know, but there is a pattern, because it isn't only just There isn't only one case, to my knowledge, right? There are more than one examples of this. And I will preface this by saying allegedly, right? I have kind of vetted this source, and I have looked for other sources that corroborate a similar story, and there are other articles that exist that do pump out the same narrative. So I'm going to assume that there is truth to this, but I'll read out the article for you guys. The most recent instance of this issue comes with legendary Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu figure Kron Gracie promoting convicted sex offender Scott Noggle, instructor at Leverage Jiu-Jitsu, who is convicted of sexual battery of a child less than 13 years of age. Man. Romulo Barros Silva, who pleaded no contest to sexually assaulting 3 women, and David W. Arnbeck owns 3 martial arts schools. In 2013, he was convicted of molesting a 15-year-old girl. In 2015, he was promoted by Kron to second-degree black belt. Now, you could say that, regardless of his past, if he earned the black belt, the second-degree black belt, then he should be awarded with the second-degree black belt. But that doesn't really explain why they're given the right to teach anyone or be close to any woman or children when they have this nasty history. I mean, realistically, and it took a whole lot of heat on them for Kron Gracie to finally put out a statement about this. But to quickly get into more detail about the Arnebeck situation, apparently after his sentencing, he continued instructing martial arts to minors, and his school was definitely affiliated with Kron Gracie. So really, there's no excuse behind this, right? After the conviction, he should have been cut immediately. But here is the statement from Kron Gracie that he put out. This statement is in regards to my association with David Arnebeck. I take full responsibility for allowing Mr. Arnebeck to continue his membership in the JJGF. Honestly, I can't see the acronym very clearly because the font is very small, so read that for yourselves. Considering the final court ruling was that he was permitted full unrestricted normal contact with minors, which declares that Mr. Arnebeck was not to be considered as a danger to minors or to society, that I know him, his wife, his daughter, and his work as a jiu-jitsu instructor for 15 years, I decided not to impose further penalties on Mr. Arnebeck other than those already given by the court. In doing so, I took the personal position that people who demonstrate the will to change and pay for past mistakes should not be ostracized or excluded from society. No. This is an example that I notice a lot nowadays of people basing their morals off of legality. I think those two things are oftentimes very, very exclusive to one another, right? If your colleague who works under you, right, and is affiliated with your gym is now a convicted sex offender, you want to be associated with the guy, right? Like the company you keep says a lot about you. So because the court deems him not a danger, right? The court deems that you follow suit, and you believe that because the court says something, that automatically means this guy is now fit to now continue teaching classes to minors, and only once you receive heat and once you're in the hot water about the situation, then you want to release a statement and cut ties with him immediately. But of course, we will get to that eventually in the statement. But let's read the second paragraph. However, as of today, the JJGF, I believe that is adopting a zero tolerance policy towards sexual misconduct. Wow, you've now adopted a zero tolerance policy. Shouldn't there always be a zero tolerance policy when it comes to sexual misconduct? You fucking freak. We believe it is necessary to unequivocally condemn any case of sexual misconduct, and Mr. Arnebeck has been expelled from the JJGF. We encourage any member of the global jiu-jitsu community to help us enforce this policy and communicate any wrongdoing they are aware of. So, wow, you're in hot water. So then you finally throw this guy under the bus after you allowed him the privilege to continue teaching classes to minors after you had the knowledge of him being convicted as a sex offender. What is wrong with you? You think this absolves you of any wrongdoing here? No, you are complicit, in my personal opinion, because you allowed him to have many opportunities to offend once again by allowing him to teach classes to minors. I condemn in the strongest words, predatory behavior that takes advantage of others. This type of behavior is intolerable and contrary to my life mission and the mission of the JJGF. I am passionate to empower protectors and self-defense through jiu-jitsu. Gracie Jiu-Jitsu in its purest form is a system designed to give the weak tools to protect themselves from the strong. Decades after the art's birth, the Jiu-Jitsu Global Federation still believes in this mission. We believe that Jiu-Jitsu should... Okay, it's just a bunch of bullshit, once again, building up Jiu-Jitsu to be this cancer-curing thing that it clearly is not. But to me, that shit is super damning for the Gracie family. At the very least, very damning for Rickson Gracie. For me, there's just no excuse for allowing a convicted sex offender, or especially when it comes to child-related crimes, to continue working under you and not ostracize him because the court deemed that he wasn't a danger. No. You offend once, you are a danger. I don't care what the court says. You are a danger, and I think that speaks to the morals of Rickson Gracie at the very least, right? And I don't have any sympathy for anybody who touches a child. I really don't. When it comes down to that, you offend once, in my opinion, you're dead to me. And is redemption possible? Maybe. Would I trust you around my child or any child ever again for the rest of eternity? Absolutely not. And you could write this off by saying it's just a slip up on the Gracie's part, but it's a pattern. It's not a one-time thing. This has happened multiple times. Multiple sex offenders have been harbored, right, within this Gracie world and have been allowed to continue operations despite their misconduct. And I think that's wrong and says a lot, like I keep saying, about the Gracie family. But that does conclude my thoughts on the Gracie family. That's about as deep as I can go. And that's about as deep as you can go, really, into anything until you get into like the murder side of things. But really, man, the tainted legacy of the Gracie family, it goes deep. And I'm not saying that all of this is absolutely 100% true. I'm really just going off the information that I was able to dig up about the Gracie family. And it does seem pretty damning. And I had strong opinions about them before. I would say that I have even stronger opinions about them now after digging up some of these details about them. And believe me, it was a little bit tougher than it should have been to find the details on some of these cases. And maybe once again that reinforces my belief that the Gracie family are some powerful folk. But you can't get mad at me, right? Because I'm just simply purporting facts, and that is about it. At the end of the day, my opinion on the Gracie family doesn't matter. I presented facts here. You come to your own conclusion. And I would just like to give one shout out to Sakuraba, the Gracie hunter, the Gracie killer, whatever it was. The man is a legend. And I hope he's sitting there smiling somewhere, man, because he exposed them all in the ring. And we're out here exposing him on YouTube. So, I mean, I'm pretty much the Sakuraba of YouTube, I guess, even though I'm under no illusion. I know I'm not the first one to call out the Gracies and expose the Gracies here before, but I just wanted to quickly give a nice shout out to Sakuraba because he was the OG. He was the OG exposer of the Gracie family, and I got nothing but love for the guy. Absolute legend. Yeah, there you go. Let me know what you think in the comment section below about the video, your thoughts on the Gracie family, your thoughts on my thoughts on the Gracie family. If you think I was being unfair, if you think I was too fair to the Gracies, you just let me know, man, whatever your thoughts are. As always, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you on the next one.